everyone! My name is Anima, and today we have a post-commentated Pokemon X and Y Wi-Fi battle today. Yes, today, the day of days. Apparently today is the word to say, because I'm retarded and commentating is hard. This time against SkyLet. This is in an OUTR situation. Actually, this is a passerby, but we started talking afterwards, so I consider this kind of more than just a passerby battle because there was a lot more connection afterwards than there usually is, which is kind of like a sort of like an awkward one-night stand, only involving Pokemon and lots of crying faces. Anyway, so as you can see, I brought a Tyranitar, Sylveon, Gyarados, bulky special defensive Caesar, Greninja, and a Charizard Y, while SkyLet has brought a Slurpuff. You can guess what that's gonna do. A Snorlax, Slowbro, Excadrill, Klefki, and a Manectric. And yeah, it was a really good battle. It was better than a lot of passerby things usually are, as I'm sure if any of you have done passerby specials, you will know precisely what I mean by what I'm saying. But yeah, I was kind of anticipating the Mega Manectric to be the lead, so I decided to lead with Evergreen, my Tyranitar. This is a Scarf set that I was messing about with like a few days ago, and it's been doing a lot of work. Like, I tend to test teams on passerby just because there's like anonymity to it that, like, it's just like the average battler kind of experience. It can be a bit hokey and inaccurate sometimes, but I do like to test teams on passerby just in general. It takes pressure off of me, I think. It feels less pressuring. Anyway, so I did anticipate this lead, so I do decide to go with my Scuffed EQ, and it does a shitload of damage, but because of the Intimidate, it comes just shy of killing, so it is a bit sad, and I really did hope that it would kill, but that's something to bear in mind, that because it was non-stab, it did not have a chance of killing. Maybe a Scarf Landorus would have been able to do the job. But yes, so out comes Keygen. And this isn't a swag play, Klefki, or anything like that, so refrain from many hateful comments, my friends, because this is just a dual screens T-Wave set with the foul play and so on. Not even hazards, in fact. So I do decide to go for the EQ just to see how much damage it does. But of course, after the Reflect, the Intimidate, the non-stab, it ain't doing diddly squat! Basically, there are no squats to be diddled here. I was fearing the T-Wave, which is why I decided to switch out, plus I was doing no damage anyway. So I do decide to go into Blister, who doesn't really care that much about being T-Wave. Now I say that, but there might be something later on that will kind of change sway on the situation. So I do decide to go for the default, just to get rid of the screens and kind of demonstrate a little bit of futility in putting them up. But there's not really an awful lot I can do to this creature. I did actually go for the U-turn here, anticipating him to maybe switch out, but then really there's not much of a need for it to switch out. It's just kind of, it won't go without putting the screens up, because it doesn't want the rest of the team members to be taking any damage. That's this thing's role. So I went out into Evergreen, just kind of hope, well, actually, only because Evergreen was the only other Pokemon, I think that wasn't going to get damaged by the Sandstorm, which is why I decided to send out Evergreen in that moment there. But I don't want Evergreen to get paralyzed, so I do go back out into Blister, while my opponent goes for the Reflect once again. So there's a little bit of not very optimized play situation occurring towards the beginning, while I'm kind of sussing out what's going on here. And while he's doing the same, but he goes for the foul play, knowing that I'm probably just going to defog or something like that. So that's precisely what occurs. He goes for the foul play, and it's doing a lot of damage. My Caesar isn't actually attack invested at all, but it still does a crap load of damage, because Caesar still hits pretty hard, despite not having investment in the attacking department. So he does anticipate me to switch out here, which is a smart play on his behalf, but I did decide to go for the Bullet Punch, thinking that he was just going to guess that I was going to switch out again into T-Tar, or maybe do some similar weird stuff again there. But this time he just goes for the Reflect, and I go for the Bullet Punch again. No, yes, I go for the Bullet Punch again here, because at this point I'm just like, I can wear that thing down. I don't see any lefties. I know that I can just wear it down, wear it down, wear it down. And this is very tragic. This next situation is extremely tragic, because my opponent withdraws, and what I should have done here was gone for the defog to get rid of that Reflect, because that is clearly a light clay Klefki, and we could have been in a better situation here. As out comes Voltenzo, and I go for the Bullet Punch, and it's not doing any damage because of all of these barriers in place. So at this point, the Manectric is sitting very, very pretty, and I do wish that I'd stayed in here, because because it would have been really sweet. But of course, I am flaring. Yes, flaring. I am fearing the flamethrower, so I do decide to go into Katsu, who is assault vested. This is the set suggested by a wonderful subscriber, and it's very good, very powerful indeed. Taking these hits very, very nicely. The Electro Ball comes into play, and I should have really just understood that meant that there was no flamethrower. Perhaps there was a flamethrower, who knows? But the sets are a bit, they're a little bit different on all of our behalves in this battle. I do go for the side shot, thinking if he brings in the Snorlax, it wouldn't appreciate that as much because Snorlax is much weaker on the defensive side, but he brings in this thing and I'm like, shit. It's gonna belly drum, it's gonna slap its belly, and this is honestly horrifying. We've all made the cake joke. The cake is in fact a lie in this instance. This is not a cake, this is a beast, this is a devil. This is a Satan creature. This is something that I'm sure that Satan kind of quivers in fear over. I think Satan just kind of bends over when he sees this thing. So, yeah, sorry Satan. Yeah, I mean, look at it, it's goddamn evil. So at this point, I do go for the Bullet Punch, and I'm saying that the Reflect, it would have been super nice to get rid of the Reflect, because 2 Bullet Punches would have sorted this thing out, but it didn't really matter anyway, because of that fully parried situation there. And the thing is, when you've been, like, mobile for a few turns with your paralyzers, you can expect to get a para at a critical moment like that. So cool. I am able to get some chip damage off on this thing, though. Not that it really... Well, I mean... Okay, well I knew I needed to just chip at this thing, just need to chip it away, and I had to run off and do some calculations real quick to see if Gyarados could live a +5 play rough, and he can! He totally can. Named King after King Arcanine, who basically suggested this set. I just really wanted to try it in a 6v6 situation, and it's... Look at that. Look at that. Look at that! Honestly, that was amazing. Managed to get the T-Wave off, which is superb, and we're able to go for the Waterfall for the kill, which is going to halt this cake bastard in its muddy, cakey tracks, which is amazing, actually, which is super, and I'm going to write a book about it, probably. And yeah, it was amazing. So out comes Voltenzo, the Manectric that is just such a nightmare. If that name's a reference to something, I'm not getting it, and I would like to get it. Okay, I would like to get it, but I know it's going to go for the Volt Switch, but Gyarados cannot live, and there is still an Excadrill lurking around in the background of my opponent's team, bear in mind, so I do need to keep Gyarados around for that thing. And he goes for the Volt Switch, gets the crit, and this crit, okay, this crit, right, I want us all to keep this crit in mind. I want us all to think about this crit. Just remember that damage right there. And so obviously this thing comes out. I do not want to deal with it. Wow, talking is very difficult, isn't it? Isn't it just hard? So I do decide to switch out into the King, who is completely non-perturbed by the earthquake. Mysterious flying dragon thing, really. And my opponent is not going to stay on that and does withdraw, going off into Grapefruit, who is a Slowbro, and Slowbros are beasts. These things are evil, these things are just horrendous, these things are fueled on nightmares. Honestly, they are, they truly, truly, truly are. And I don't know why Gyarados doesn't get crunched. I think that's so stupid. It's like strongest dark move is like Bite or something. Or like Payback, but that doesn't really monopolize on Gyarados' speed. But yeah, so I'm gonna get the hell out of here because this situation ain't cool. A Scald is coming, and I could take that on, but like I can't do anything to it. I don't have Toxic, I have T-Wave. So I do decide to go into Slim Jim. He'll be able to take a Scald fairly well, and I am hoping that I don't get burnt, but I won't be too pissed if I do, because that's just the thing that happens to 1 in 3 shots! And as much as I would like that to not be a thing, it totally friggin' is! So Slim Jim does get burnt, and my opponent is going to switch out here. I know that because they will be fearing the Dark Pulse. So I do decide to pull a double and go into Evergreen, anticipating the Snorlax to come out. And that is precisely what occurs. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting these long post-coms being a thing. How do we feel about that? Would you like me to speed it up more? To maybe just like, I don't know, just a little bit faster than this kind of thing. It would cut the time down by a bit, wouldn't it? So out comes Cookie Monster. And this is just like... this thing, okay, I want you to imprint this thing's face into your mind. I want you to do that because it's evil. And I could have gone for the Pursuit here, but I wanted to get a ton of damage on whatever the hell came out, and it turned out to be Grapefruit. So we are going to bite this thing in its cute little grapefruit face, and that is wonderful. We're going to do well over half because we managed to snag a little critical hit here. But, I mean, it's a regenerated Pokemon. So it's not that crazy, and I do think even without the hit, without the crit there, it would have been a 2 KO. So I do think that that crit didn't really matter that much. So, but anyway, the Grapefruit is going to switch out, and out comes Stalabor, the Excadrill, and I don't wanna deal with you, Excadrill. So I do decide to go for the Crunch, and this is pretty good. This is good. It does a good amount of damage, and I was fearing this thing being Scarfed because Scarfed Excadrill beats Scarfed Tyranitar. Excadrill is just a little bit faster, I think, being base 80 or something like that. I'm not really sure. I'm not familiar with Excadrill. It's one of these little bastards that I haven't used. So I do decide to go into my Gyarados. If I'd stayed in and gone for the Crunch, perhaps I would have. Perhaps things would have played out a bit differently because this thing would have just been point blank dead, and I wouldn't be sitting in my Gyarados for a situation that will occur later on. Oh, but you know, since I do decide to switch out into Evergreen here, just to see if he does go for the Rock Slide, and this is okay, and this is fine, because he does go for that, and it's like resisted, so it's okay, it's revealed to not be Scarfed, and that's cool, that's fine, that's wonderful. We're able to get off this next Crunch, and that's okay. That is okay indeed. So basically, that shite I spilled at you for being sat in Gyarados was a complete lie, and I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly, truly sorry. So out comes Keygen, and this thing is going to do its job. You know, it's just going to do its damn job. It's going to do the thing that it does with the Reflect and the Sadness. And the thing is, this is extremely good for it. This is all it needs to do. It just needs to set these things up. This is its role. It's like an enabler for everybody else to come and poke me in places I don't want to be poked, namely my bum. I'm quite protective over that area, so I'm a bit upset that this occurred. But this Scald is not enough to take it out, but we do get the burn, so burn for burn, which is nice. And yeah, I think the hacks has been fairly even this game, so it's okay. And hacks is just a part of the game, ladies and gents. If you can't accept that, then you might as well just cry a lot. I do, every day. So out comes Cookie Monster, and I was not very thrilled about this arrangement because, I mean, these things are just scary, so I do decide to pull into King to get the Intimidate off and possibly just taunt it or whatever. If it wants to set up curses, that was my intent. But he goes for a Belly Drum. This is the second Belly Drummer of the game. And Snorlax is fat, okay? Snorlax is fat. This is the fattest friggin' Pokemon I've ever seen in my whole entire life. So at this point, I do decide to go straight for that young T-Wave because I need this thing to maybe get Parahaxed now and then, just so that everybody else may have a chance. And if I can score a few cheeky little Parahacks, then we could be sitting at a very comfortable position. But he does go straight for the Crunch, and my poor dear King cannot take this because it's a +6 and a crit. I don't know if he could have taken that. I kind of, from how he took the Belly Drummed Play Rough, perhaps he could have taken it because the Crunch isn't stab, so who knows. I do decide to go into Slim Jim, the slimmest of gyms, and I go for the Dark Pulse, hoping for a cheeky flinch or a para, and it actually does a sizable amount because it was a critical hit, and we do manage to get the para. So I was like, yeah, Savenya, maybe we can take this thing out with the next DP if we can score a cheeky crit, and it's the only thing I'm going to be able to do because Slim Jim is going to faint next turn, and I'm going to have to rely solely on Evergreen my Tyranitar to take out the Slowbro. At this point, I've just decided that it's going to be Sylveon's job to take down the Manectric, and it's going to be T-Tar's job to take down the Slowbro. But this friggin' happens! It goes to bed! Okay? I don't like that it's gone to bed. This makes me uncomfortable. It's asleep. I'm not. This is like a really awkward slumber party situation. I'm the one who's still awake. I want to talk about stuff. I can't sleep. You fell asleep first. I'm the last one to fall asleep. This is a really awkward slumber party situation. So I decided to go out into Charizard, and Charizard's role was so minimal in this battle. I do decide to go for the pointless Mega Evolution. It's not completely pointless, but it kind of is. And my intent here is like, well, at least it's asleep. Hopefully it's not rest talk, and it would just be nice to stall out the reflects and the screens. That's like basically the intent here, because I know this is a terrible situation. I know this is just awful. I know this is very sad indeed. But all I can do is go for the flamethrowers in the sun, and it does nothing! Alright? It does nothing! I'm guessing this is a thick, fat Snorlax because it did jack shit. And because the EQ isn't stab, and I am actually timid, it's gonna do even less, kind of. Well, not even less, it's about the same. But embarrassing, really. The flamethrower doing that little damage being in the sun. I've never seen Charizard be reduced to such uselessness. But we're going to go for the EQ again because the reflect wore off and maybe we'll do 3 damage instead of 2. But he does wake up this turn having rested out the 2 obligatory turns and goes for the crunch. And this is going to be a straight up OHKO because it's +6! Lords and ladies, guys and girls, germs and germettes, I guess. And the Cookie Monster is not paralyzed or anything like that anymore, so so this is very sad. I am actually sincerely hoping for hacks here because it's the only way I'm going to be able to cope. So I do decide to go for the crunch. Strongest move, it's the only way, I don't have Rock Slide, I have Stone Edge, so it does a decent amount of damage, and the Sandstorm is going to cancel out the leftovers, so it does go for the crunch, and thankfully I resist that, so it's like kind of okay. It's kind of okay, but I can't take 2, so it doesn't really matter that much. We're going to go for the next crunch here, and it is not going to take it out. We're not going to get the flinch, just so we all know how terrible this situation is. And this next crunch is going to be enough to take out Evergreen. Evergreen! You didn't get a chance to shine, but let me tell you, she is very formidable indeed. Do have that young pursuit, and it's amazing. It's so good, it's so good. I pursuit trapped Delatios with it the other day and it was so fun. It was so fun! It really was. I used Scarf T-Tar like a few months ago on Showdown, but I didn't really get the hang of it, so I'm just trying to get used to it now. Just trying to diversify with Pokemon in general. So, out is the last Pokemon I have, and that's Katsu, named after the subscriber who suggested it, and she manages to take out the Snorlax with the Hyper Voice, which I honestly did not expect. I honestly did not expect that. Now, my opponent makes a great play here, goes out into the Manectric, and goes for the Volt Switch. Now, I'm telling you why this is a great play, because it gives him another opportunity to chip away at me. And I would like for you all to recall that crit from earlier, that crit from way earlier, in fact. We're going to go for that Hyper Voice, and Grapefruit is going to get taken down by that and the Sandstorm combination. So, essentially, Sylveon took it out. And yeah, so remember how much damage that Volt Switch did at the beginning with that crit, and how much damage it did just then, just like a normal standard Volt Switch. I don't think that Katsu would have been taken out, but ultimately the hacks was like everywhere in this match, and Katsu is going to get taken out, but that was a really great game. I was really looking forward to having a nice and close game with somebody, and that came down to a 1-0 victory in my opponent's favour, so thank you very much, SkyLet. That was a really good game. I really did enjoy that. God. Klefki is just evil. Klefki is seriously evil, and screens in general are just upsetting. I really need to try those out sometime. So guys, if you liked this battle, feel free to give it a like if you are so inclined. Leave a comment if you will. Answer the QOT DA, which is gonna be, what is your favorite snack food? Now, I'm gonna tell you, sweet Thai chili crisps are da bomb. Sweet Thai chili. Woo! Or if you're in America, I don't know what the fuck they're called, but I call them Honolulus. I know they're not called Honolulus. They're like Hawaiian barbecue flavor. You guys call them chips as well. I love those. They're amazing. And of course, we had the Pepsi Coke discussion where there was quite the divide. And some fucking extremists talking about Dr. Pepper or Fanta or something. That wasn't the fucking question. I'm kidding. But they're way too avant-garde for me. But yes, what is your favorite snacky food? Obviously, if you think the QOTD is weird, you don't have to answer it, so like, yeah. But yes, guys, if you did enjoy the video, leave a like if you're so inclined. Leave a comment, but of course, you don't have to do any of these things. Subscribe if you haven't already, because it would be an absolute delight to have you here. But as always, you don't have to do any of these things. In fact, the most important thing of all is for you to take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye!